Hello, and welcome to our sewing Sanka. You'll find a series of videos here on how to make a rakusu in the Soto Zen tradition, more specifically in the tradition of Upaya Zen Center and Roshi Joan Halifax's lineage. We'll go through each step in detail to help you create your own rakusu. You might want to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can find it again easily, and click on the notification bell so you'll learn when new videos are posted. If you have questions or comments, please post them in the comment section below. We'll do our best to answer them. I'm Cheryl Dyson, and today we're going to be going over how to embroider the broken pine twig onto the plaquette of your rakusu. So you'll find the links mentioned in the video and details in the description below. But let's go to the downward facing camera and get started. All right, so the first things that you're going to be needing will be the Rakusu pattern book. And you may have noticed already from looking at that pattern book from the field and the face strips, the little piecework that we did, that the last page has the instructions for how to draw and then how to sew the embroidery of the broken pine twig. Let's do something first. Let's take a look at what we're aiming for here. What does it look like when it's finished? Especially if you haven't had an opportunity to hold a rakusu, a completed rakusu, or if you've only seen one in pictures, you may not have seen the plaquette with that broken pine twig. Excuse me, goodness. So let me just take a look, take my rakusu out of the envelope, and you'll see that and why I've been using different colors since we have black on black on black, and it can be difficult to see. So let's take a look at kind of hold it under the light here a little bit better, and to be able to see this broken pine twig that's on the plaquette. And let me go over this direction too. So the plaquette is here. A little bit of lint. So the plaquette is here on the strips that hold the strips together, the straps together rather, the shoulder straps. And it is also, when you take it out of the envelope, and we'll do a video one of these days soon on how to make an envelope, because I think it's a nice thing to have to be able to slip your rakusu in between wearing, and to be able to, if you travel with it or you take it to the Zendo, then you'll have a nice envelope to slip it into and keep it clean and tidy. And then when you take the rakusu out of the envelope, then it will be folded with that pine needle right on top. So your plaquette and with that embroidery holding the straps together will be right on top. And we'll also talk about how to fold the rakusu properly. Oops, here we go. So as we take a look at what our goal is, what we'll be striving to create, let's also talk a little bit about the symbolism and the meaning for the broken pine twig, because it is an important aspect of the rakusu, and it has a lot of meaning. It's truly a symbol of the Soto Zen tradition. It symbolizes our lineage, practice, and the path to realization, and does represent the Soto school, distinguishing it from other Zen traditions. So the emblem is illustrating that we're part of this lineage of Zen practitioners. And for those of us in the Upaya Zen Center, in Roshi Joan Halifax's lineage. So while the rakusu itself is representing that patched robe of the Buddha, the broken pine needle adds another layer of symbolism in identifying the Soto tradition. So when we look at that, the field of the rakusu with representing the rice fields, and I don't know if any of you have been involved or seen the Giving Life, Planting Life program at Upaya with Wendy Johnson. I'm going to add Sensei since she's such a marvelous teacher, that for those of us, for instance, in the West, we might be made of wheat, and Native Americans in our areas are made of corn, and certainly in the East, in Asia, then the people are made of rice. And so that symbolism of what we're made of, as well as the nutrition, long life, being able to have strength and resilience, as well as feeding others, making sure that we not only create a way to feed and nourish and nurture other people and ourselves, but to nurture ourselves and others spiritually as well. So but the broken aspect of the twig then emphasizes and shows impermanence. Because even though the pine tree is long lasting and enduring, an evergreen, and associated with long life and strength, then the broken twig can also then symbolizes our impermanence and resilience as well. So that the broken needle is perhaps just bent and will spring back over time. So I think it's a beautiful symbology and something that is nice to reflect on as we stitch this embroidered piece. So let's turn to our Rakusu of many colors. This over envelope. And we'll take a look at, actually first, I'd like to look at the pattern and how we'll be managing the embroidery floss. Especially for those of you who perhaps have never done any embroidery, we'll be switching over to an embroidery needle, and that embroidery needle will have a longer eye than the quilting needle had. So if you have an embroidery needle, or you can borrow someone's if you don't have any, or you can, when you go, say, to the fabric store or a quilting store to buy some embroidery floss, then you can pick up a package of embroidery needles, and that will help be able to thread the needle. And in looking at our pattern piece here, I'm going to bring this up, and I've kind of scribbled on this a little bit. I've marked on it because if you don't have access to a copy shop, now if you can copy this, either a printer at home or take it to Kinko's or wherever you have an opportunity to print this, that pattern book, and I'll link to that in the description below, then you want to be 100% sure that this is to scale and that these measurements are accurate. And you'll want to take a ruler with you to the where you get it copied and make sure that it's correct. Because if it isn't, then your pine tree needle will be the wrong size. It'll be a different size. So we're going to measure and say that, yes, this is indeed 2.5 inches across. So from this longest line, from here to here, is 2.5 inches. And so when you take a look at these measurements, if you don't have a copier and need to draw this, you certainly can, and don't be scared. It's I'm going to give more, actually even more dimensions than this, to show that we have that straight line for 2.5 inches. We'll have, this is the size of the plaquette, this part, and I'll have those measurements as well as in a drawing in the description below. And then we'll also be measuring these different lines. So while this line is 2.5 inches, this is 7/16 inch. This will be 1 15/16 inch from this number 1 to number 3. 7/8 from here to here, all the way 3 to 4. And there'll be the angles added to the diagram. So when you're crafting this yourself, you'll want to use a protractor, or I had linked before to a Sashiko template that shows making both curves. And I really like that template. You might want to consider it because it's very nice for when you're working on your lineage chart. And you'll be able to use those circles to pencil in the as you make the lineage chart in little circles that go on each side. So I don't mean to get into describing the lineage chart here, but it's nice to have a little guide to pencil those in on your mulberry paper. And it also has the angles so that you can use a dot to identify the given angles. Or a protractor, you might have that in a coloring kit, or maybe your son or your child, your children, or your grandchildren, or someone may have access to it. You'd actually probably find it in the supermarket when you go to the little school supply area. So the protractor will be there to help you make these angles correctly. So that's a good thing to be able to do if you cannot make a copy of this, get a copy made. So the next part will be having your green embroidery floss. Now there are lots and lots of colors available of green and different brands. So really don't worry about the brand. I think Coates and Clark and DMC rather. So all these different ones are available for you, and just pick the color that you like. Maybe take a piece of your black fabric along with you and decide which color, what brightness you like best or is meaningful to you. Maybe one of these speaks to you in terms of the pine trees and that kind of thing. So it's all good. Then when you look at the instructions, we're going to take these little sleeves off of the skein of floss. When you look at the instructions, you'll notice that it says to have a 2-ply of the floss. And the reason it says that is that embroidery floss typically comes in 6-ply. So when I'm going to pull this apart, you can see these different little threads. And oopsie. So you find all these, as you kind of untwist these, and they're not twisted too tight, they're meant to come apart. And you'll find that there are it's a 6-ply. And you want a 2-ply. So the first step will be, I'm going to just cut a short length here, because I already have a longer length prepared for us to make the embroidery. And when I identify 2 threads, and just between you and me, you can use 3 if you want, because the 3 might, kind of shows up better. I kind of wish I'd used 3 on my Rakusu because it kind of shows up a little bit better, but it's okay. 2, it's fine. 2 or 3. So you're going to have the larger bunch here and the 2-ply here. You're going to hold on to these, right? And I actually just take, here is my 2 and my larger 3, or larger 4, and hang on to these. Okay, just grab a hold of them, and I'm going to unfurl these, untwist these. But I'm going to hang on to these and kind of let it untwist, because they're going to want to twist up and almost make a knot. And we are after the untire of knots, right? Isn't that our favorite, kind of our favorite thing there? And pull it out so it'll untwist. And there we have it. And here's our little length of 2-ply. Then I'll thread and make a knot on the end to be able to do the embroidery. Now the next step will be to take our pattern piece here, and I'm going to attach it. Now I've actually, whoops, clicking and clinking here. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me unfurl that. Flip this over. And we're going to be making these lines, these little dots. The way we'll do that is we're going to, and we can use the clips to attach them, because it is important that we keep these two straps together, because the embroidery is what's going to hold them together. So not so super secure, but we're going to do it. So we're going to get this here, and you'll see that we're pretty close then to the plaquette size. Slide this in. Now I'd actually like to recommend just leaving a little bit of a bit here, even if this hangs over a wee bit this way. I'd rather have it low enough that this embroidery piece is centered right on this part. See what I mean? So where our straps are coming out is the aspect that I want to make sure that this is pretty much in the center of. See how this straight line is pretty much now in the center of this strap, and this the same way. See what I mean? Okay. Let's see here, we're just gonna ensure that we don't get those lost. Okay, now what we'll do is I want you to take a pin or a nice big needle, or actually the better one would be this kind of pin. It's nice and big, and put that in each juncture, each place that it has a number. This is 7. I'm going to make a hole in the paper. 1, 5, 6, 3, and 4, and 2. And make that little hole there, so that then the next step will be to take your pencil, and since I've already marked that out, rather than using this pencil, let me use this little guy and to demonstrate. So what I can do then is take either the fabric marker, if you purchased a Sashiko liquid chalk marker that we had talked about, I think I demonstrated on the episode that had how to mark black on black fabric. So this marker is a Sashiko marker that's a liquid chalk, and it makes very nice dots. It takes it a few minutes to cure and brighten up. At first, you think that it's just going to be, it didn't work, it's going to liquid, but it solidifies on the fabric and shows up nice and bright. And it's our little mascot here is an example of this marker actually having drawn these different dots and the little smiley face, and it's nice, and it stays nice and bright like this until you iron it, and then that mark goes away. However, if you don't do sashiko embroidery or are not interested in that, this might be a little overkill for you. You don't need to make, I don't like to have a lot extra expense for this project, for doing this work. But if it is of interest, you might be interested in, might like that. Otherwise, make sure that your white colored pencil is nice and sharp, or your fabric marker. Just make sure they can make a nice mark for this. And you're just going to go in here and you're twirl it around on these points, just like that. And then say goodbye to the pattern. We're going to keep these clipped. And I'll have this pattern. And it is important to keep it clipped because you don't want these, because it's thick fabric, you don't want it to shift back and forth. So you make sure that these two stay nice and together. All right. So we're ready to get started on the embroidery. So take our nice length here of the green embroidery thread, and we'll be taking a look at making sure that we stitch through all the layers, okay, with the exception of that very first, the first stitch, because that'll be where the knot will attach through. So when you take a look then at the points, actually you can maybe keep, hold on a second, I'll make sure that's easily for you to see, And so you can keep these to show you the numbers, because this is an important point. And you don't really go from, say, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. There's like a system here that helps you make sure that this side is identical to this side. So we're going to do that, and we're going to cross our fingers that we do this correctly. So the first thing will be to sneak your needle in and go under here to the first dot, 0.1, which is this guy right in the middle. So we have 1. Now we're going to go all the way to 0.2. So we've got 1 and 2. I'm going to go straight down, all the way through. Now we're going to go back to 0.1. Here's where our thimble comes in, very handy. All right, I'm going to go straight up, 0.1. All right, now I'm going to go from 0.1 to 0.3, which is up here. Go straight down. This for the thimble. Push that right there. Now we're going to go behind, but come back up on 0.4. Oops, it may take you a couple of pokes because you want to make sure you go up to that. All right, so we're going to go from here through the back to 0.4. which is this guy. Right. Now I'm going to go from point 4 to the front of point 3. Right. Same hole they came out of, go straight down. I'm going to go back the back side to point 1. Oops. There we go. Now I'm on the front side to point 5. Straight down. And then I'm going to go back side, back to point 1. Point 1 gets a lot of action. Oh, hang on a second though. I have caught this part of the tail. So what we're going to do is gently pull that through. So you get concentrating and forgot to pay attention. There we are. We can pull that forward so we have a little less. All right, so from here, this is 0.5. So we went from the front to 0.5. Now we're going to go to the back side, back to 0.1. Oops. So there we go. So now we're going to go from 0.1 to 0.6, go all the way through. And the back side, back to 0.1. There we go. All right. Then from the front, from 0.1 to 0.7, right here. And from the back side, back to 0.1. Oops. All right. So at this point, I can take these off. Go through that. And one of the things I actually might do actually, the very best way to do this because I'm not so super happy with this. Okay, and I don't really want to go through. I don't really don't want to go through pulling all of that out and doing it again. I mean, you could do that if you discover that you've made a gap there. But what we can do is to take we have our little length here. Thread this. Make a knot. And, you know, my goal really and truly has been with this to give you a real-time um, demonstration of how this works and how it would look, and to really um, not pull any punches here, you know, not to say, okay, well, you know, here's what it looks like and show you the end result as though it all came together with no glitches or no problems, because that's not how that works really. And it's important to know kind of what to do if things have issues or have a problem. So making a knot and coming back up through this part of our pine stitch, but not all the way through, to just come through here and just pick up where we left off. There we go. I'm going to thread that all the way through, right back to here. It's just right under that one layer. And then that comes across right where that one, without having a gap there. And you can consider, even with this one, coming here. I actually might even like to see this to be just a little bit longer. And this would be a good way to bring this back out to create a knot. Of just this aspect, or just these two layers. So see, I'm bringing my needle under here. Now, the other part of that too would be, you know, you might actually want to do it again, and that's fine as well. And you might be happy with this and honestly, I like things to be a little bit more organic, and that can help create that more organic feel to the broken twig. So that's how you'll be looking at that to create the rakusu that will be personal to you and will be meaningful as well. Of looking at how we do these stitches that will, create not only a lasting memory, but really help to create that symbolism. Because if we're talking about a broken pine tree, twig, that's going to be something that is imperfect. And I actually really like that. I think that those imperfections make it unique to yourself and have that deeper meaning. And if you've kind of maybe felt to yourself that, oh, it will do, it's not a problem, I'll just leave it, and perhaps want to work, and part of what you want to work on in your practice is being more precise, then maybe that would be something that would be worth um, uh, taking a different approach and doing over. But again, that's something that will be important to you and meaningful to you. So when these particular dots are something that I'll be able to take, they take water, and they actually are water soluble. So I use my little water pen. See, they practically disappear right there. Now your white won't do that unless you'll probably need to either iron or use a Q-tip. Excuse me, goodness. And you'll use a Q-tip with a little water, maybe just a tiny bit of very, very, very mild soap, just a teensy bit, and then use water to rinse that. There we go. So get in it there, make sure it's nice and those marks are removed. Just tuck that in for a second. So this gives you your your broken pine twig, and as you can see, you're going to be matching this particular diagram and creating that for your rakusu. And the other side is the same. Oh, let me get rid of this mark as well. This was a test dot. And any time you use moisture on your rakusu, be sure that you let it dry completely before you put it away. In fact, you might have it, you can hang it. And that's kind of a nice thing too with the plaquette, giving extra strength to be able to hang it. In some zendos, there are hooks outside of the bathrooms or near the kitchens where you can hang your rakusu. Usually with the field facing in toward the wall and the white on the outside. But that's something that you'll want to check with Zendo etiquette for. So I think the last thing would be to take a look at your Zendo etiquette. And in the Jukai book, you'll find a page that explains the ways to, when to wear the rakusu and how to handle it, and the importance of keeping it clean and treating it with reverence and being able to take care. And I think after all of the effort and work that has gone into creating your rakusu, you'll be very aware of wanting to treat it with respect and dignity, and as a symbol of, because obviously this is a symbol, and we're not, you know, reifying a symbol, but rather using this symbol as something to be part of our practice. So when do be sure that you take a look at reading the Zendo etiquette. If you visit Upaya or another Zen center, you definitely check with the folks there for any of their traditions or the way that they prefer things be done. And you have a completed Rakusu. So I don't know about you, but I think this is a pretty amazing milestone. And I'm just, so grateful that you have been taking the time to watch these instructions. I'm not a Zen priest. I'm not a teacher, ordained. I have taken vows for my bodhisattva vows, but that you've entrusted me with learning how to make this amazing and wonderful object. And I certainly wish you much good fortune and love and success in your practice, and meaningful to be meaningful in your practice, and to live by vow. And I think I've said before that living by vow and living by these bodhisattva vows that we take will truly change the world. And I know that I personally always wonder, what can I do? What more can I do for this world to make things better? And I think that living by vow is perhaps the best start, maybe the most important thing, and to wish that others can live by vow as well. And the more of us that do just that, the world will definitely be a better place. So thank you for your practice. Thank you very much for having been with me for these lessons. And certainly if you have questions or need better clarification for any of these things, know that I've tried my best to create a instructional program that will enable you to do this and create your rakusu, and with the true intention that you can take your vows as you wish and as is right for you, and create this more wonderful, peaceful world that we all would love to live in. So thank you. And I certainly appreciate all of your wonderful efforts. So thank you so much. This completes your Rakusu, and there will be probably couple more videos to keep a lookout for. We'll maybe make an envelope one of these days soon, and perhaps have some gathas that you might like to use as you're working on your Rakusu. And again, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate every moment, and certainly am very honored that you would trust me with helping you make your Rakusu. And I'll see you in the next one.